Do you ever get just a terrible, terrible idea that not only completely disgusts you on the moment you thought it, but also incredibly intrigues you at the same time? That's basically this video. For the longest time, I've always wanted to do a sort of challenge-like series on this channel. Basically, take a game, add an unnecessary challenge that no one has ever thought of, and I can't think of anything better than to start with this. Can you beat Minecraft without left-clicking? I think the first thing we need to do is define exactly what I mean by beat Minecraft and not left-clicking. To start with beating Minecraft, to beat Minecraft you have to kill the Ender Dragon, and once you've seen the credits the game is officially over. At the same time, what defines this left clicking is the action of swinging or punching your fist. Yes, I know you could technically bind that to a different key and then just do it like that, but where's the fun in that? So I wanted to ask myself a very simple question. If you remove that element of the game, so I can't swing any tools, I can't punch, I can't break any blocks, is it physically possible to beat Minecraft? And so I decided to set myself a single challenge to go to the end and beat the Ender Dragon without ever pressing left click. Is it possible? Let's find out. To start off, I'm just going to quickly relay the rules for anybody who is unclear about what's happening. Rule number 1, no left clicking of any sorts. Rather the action of swinging and punching, I'm going to bind it to a key that quite frankly I would never normally use, so I can't even press it accidentally, and not break any blocks or damage any items with a tool or my fist. That is completely prohibited. Rule number 2 will be no cheating or mods of any kind. I'm going to do this in the vanilla, and obviously if I disable cheats at the start, there's no way for me to obviously spawning any items without obviously glitches, which again I'm not allowed to do. The final rule, which is obviously a pretty straightforward one, is I'm going to start in a brand new world with no set seed. That way the world is completely randomly generated as if I was playing Minecraft for the first ever time. Also, the use of seed viewers, even if I did have the seed, would not be allowed either, because then I could just look at where I need to go. Those are the rules that I'm going to set, and I think they are all fair rules, so let's get straight into this. So let's get the obvious facts out of the way first thing. It is physically impossible for me to get wood or food at this point in the game. I simply cannot punch, which means I simply cannot break down trees, and there is no way for me to damage any animal. I'm in a bit of an awkward spot where the start of the game is going to start really slowly, but my plan was quite simply I needed to find a village. If I found a village, I'd be able to get food from the farms and hope that there's some good stuff in the chests. The overall idea was I wanted to get a bucket at some point, so hoping for free iron from the village, because doing my research, I didn't know at the time that you couldn't actually get buckets in villages. I needed a bucket simply to get to the Nether, because getting obsidian is physically, again, impossible. It didn't actually take me that long to find a village, which I think is quite impressive. However, the village that I did find had nothing of use in building wise. No blacksmiths, one library, but I can't get the books anyway, so there's no point in me being here. I also realised I couldn't pick up food. I don't know why I didn't realise this at the time. It was impossible for me to punch the actual crops. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but I found a really weird solution. In 1.12, and I think in most Minecraft versions, you can literally just jump on the farms and the crop will pop up. If it's a fully grown crop, then it will come up completely normal, and the dirt will come untilled. Admittedly, it's not an ideal way to do it, but it gets you the food, so I'm not personally complaining. After getting a decent bouquet of food, I decided to leave, because obviously there was nothing there for me at the village. And then spent the first night in the snowy plains with the ingenious idea to try and use creepers to get string, because string is going to be really important, you'll see that later. Except it went terribly. I nearly died on so many multiple occasions, and whatever I was thinking when I originally tried this, I have no idea, but you can just laugh at my stupidity. I actually did get quite lucky and pick up 2 string right at the end of the night before spending the majority of the night in an igloo. Fun fact, this is the first time I've ever seen an igloo in Minecraft. And there you go. I then spent a lot longer than I'm willing to admit trying to find a second village, including crossing an ocean, but when I finally did, I was over the moon. I also ran past a spawner that had a skeleton and a spider in, and the skeleton killed the spider, giving me 2 more string. So, quite frankly, really lucky. I'll head back to the spawner in a second, but heading into the village, I did find myself a blacksmith, which gave me some armor pieces, which is actually going to be quite useful in the long run, and also a few pieces of obsidian and some bread. Not really as useful, but the armor's probably the big thing here. I'm a bit disappointed I didn't get any iron, because it means I'm going to have to keep searching for structures, but it's not a bad start. Heading back to the spawner, I was quite lucky that none of the mobs spawned and I was able to loot both the chests, giving me buckets, string and gunpowder. And trust me, that gunpowder is going to be so useful in the long run that I didn't even realize it at the time. I decided at this point I was going to bunker down in this village, so first thing I did was set up a chicken farm for feathers, because I'm going to need a lot of arrows if I want this to be successful. I also tried to use creepers to blow up trees to get wood, but that went about as successfully as this clip shows. A nearby jungle temple was also quite helpful as well, giving me all the gold, string and general stuff that I actually ever needed. Though the spawner did have buckets, I guess it's always nice to have some extra pieces here or there. I think it's now time to also talk about one of the biggest problems facing this run, and that's the Endermen. For those genuinely living under a rock, the way you have to get to the end is you need to craft something called Eye of Enders. These are created by a blaze powder that you can obtain from blazes, and you also need ender pearls from endermen. The problem is they spawn very infrequently, but they drop ender pearls not that often as well. This is an annoying thing for anyone who can just kill every enderman they see with a sword, but that's a problem for me. It's impossible for me to do that. Now I do have a bow, but if you shoot an enderman with a bow, he will just teleport away. It's not possible to hit him. No matter how hard you try, you'll just be wasting arrows more than anything. And setting the enderman on lava as well was really not a way for me to do this. Simply because they just teleport away, trying to find safety, and you'll lose them really, really quickly. I also tried blowing one or two of them up, but they just keep running away from the TNT, and trying to draw creepers near endermen is just not a good way to do it. Basically, I had to think of a very unique way to kill endermen that wasn't gonna get me killed at the same time. And I came up with a way that I didn't even consider, but I think looking back is really clever. Wolves. You see, what I thought going into this is that wolves will attack any mobs except creepers and endermen. I don't know why I thought that. The creeper side is true, a wolf will never attack a creeper. However, enderman is a different case. So what I did was I built a roofed shack and looked into an enderman's eyes, or attracted an enderman to me, and got as close to the shack as I possibly could before the enderman hit me. When the enderman hits me, I go underneath the shack and the wolves will attack the enderman, killing it. It's a very slow, a very painful process, but it does work. We'll get back to how well that does a little later in the video. Since we're talking about materials that'll be really difficult to get, let's talk about flint. Yeah, I know. I need flint to craft arrows, and I also need a flint for a flint and steel, and the only way to get flint in this game is by breaking gravel. The only option that I found I was able to do was to draw creepers near gravel patches and blow them up. This took so long. I did this for about 20 minutes, 2 pieces of flint, and I just thought, screw it, I'm done doing this. However, when I was searching around, I found a second village that half of it was in a desert, and when a village is in a desert, the flooring is gravel, which means there's a lot of gravel paths that I can blow up on. It's still a very slow and grindy process, but after a while I did have enough flint to use long term, so that's also really good as well. And all I have to really do is keep growing the chickens and I'll have unlimited arrows in no time. Now we've got the grindy stuff out of the way, let's talk about blaze powder. Basically, the only way to get blaze powder is through the Nether, because you have to kill blazes. They drop blaze rods, which you can craft into blaze powder. It's pretty straightforward. As I mentioned earlier, I can't get obsidian, so using 2 buckets, it was quite simple to just make a Nether portal by placing lava and water. A relatively well-known trick called the bucket method, and thanks to the flint that I got from grinding and the iron that I got from the general structures that I picked up over time, getting into the Nether actually wasn't that hard. It's at this point I actually found a very unexpected obstacle, let's say. You see, when you spawn in the Nether, there is actually a chance you can spawn inside a Nether cave. Basically, I was inside a wall, and the only way out was through this little gap here, from what I can tell. There's a problem though. The gap is only 1 block high and wide, and I can't break any more blocks. No matter where I went in this little area, there was absolutely no way in hell I could make it out of this area. So I came up with a plan. If I can't use this Nether portal, I'll have to basically make a new one. Because of the distance between this Nether portal and where my base was, and I'm showing you this sped up footage just so you can get a general idea of how far away this actually was. My thought process was if I just carried a bunch of lava buckets over to my spawn area, it would be distance enough away, I'd have a nether portal right outside my bed. It seems like the most simple way to do it. And quite frankly, that's just what I did. I mean, like I say, you're watching this all now. From what I could tell, I needed to do this at least 10 to 12 times, something like that. So obviously this bit is also going to be grindy, and I really didn't expect it to be. After a while, I finally made enough of a portal, and now that I'm in the nether portal, surely it is so far away. I mean, you've seen the distance. Shouldn't be any issues whatsoever, right? Wrong. Apparently, I don't know how, this nether portal is close enough to the other nether portal so that I spawn in the exact same spot. Yeah, I wasn't having it, quite frankly. So I knew that the distance between the two, which was probably about 300, 400 blocks, was too much. So I just set off in the complete other direction to find another lava pool. I've just thought if I just kept going away and away and away, eventually I will find a spot far enough away to spawn me in a different nether portal entirely. And I did. It took a long time. I finally did it. And on the third attempt... Oh, you've got to be absolutely kidding me. Nah, I'm just kidding. The matter of the fact is, once getting into the nether, actually the rest of this wasn't that hard. You see, finding a fortress was relatively quickly, and I also found this spawner where half of it is actually been blocked off, so blazes couldn't really spawn in any particular area apart from right here. It was easy to just pick them off one by one, to the point where I had about 12, and at that point I was happy. What I would see is for every one blaze rod you get 2 blaze powder, so having 24 Eye of Enders in theory is a really bloody good thing to have. So I left it from there. It's weird to think that getting in the nether was actually more difficult than the nether. That really sums up this run, quite frankly. If I was able to just break that one block, who knows what could have been at the other side of that little cave. But instead, I had to do this completely out the way thing just to get blaze rods. Let's just hope the rest of the run isn't as grindy. Right then, let's get back to the Enderman. The reason I told you about my Enderman plan earlier in the video is because I've been doing that entire plan for the entire run. You see, if I was lucky, and I mean this, if I was lucky, I'd get 3 Endermen spawning every single night. And if I was even luckier, I'd get at most 1 Ender Pearl from them. The drop rates from Endermen and the spawn rates of Endermen are ridiculous. So for whatever I was doing, I always had those platforms ready to spot an Enderman and then let the wolves kill them. It's a lot easier to show the process in little bits than the full thing, because if not, this video would be a 2-hour-long video, because this is what I was doing the majority of the time. I was doing what I needed to do during the day, like breeding chickens, getting flint, exploring the nether, those kind of things, and then during the night, I'd spend it looking for Endermen, trying to kill Endermen and try and get Ender Pearls. It took a very long time, a very, very long time, but after that, I finally had 15 Ender Pearls, and with the 13 blaze rods that I picked up earlier, I now had officially 15 Eye of Enders, which means it's time to go to the end. It's funny that the bits like this, where finding certain points were actually the easy part, is just preparing for these points that proved difficult. Because using the Eye of Enders, I actually found the end within about 5 or 10 minutes of setting off. And now that I know the location of the stronghold, all I need to do is get down there, and I'll be at the end in no time. How the hell am I going to get down there? I spent ages preparing everything before and after I started playing, doing research into every little thing, deciding whether this was even doable, and the one thing that I forgot to plan out: how was I going to get down into the stronghold? It's such a massive oversight now that I think about it, but it wasn't an impossible task, I knew that. I just had to think of a way to actually get down there. Now, remember earlier in the video where I got some gunpowder from that spawner? I decided that that was my only way down. I could either A, get a bunch of creepers to blow up in holes to dig my way down that way, or B, get enough gunpowder to use TNT. And yeah, this basically became another grindy moment. Luckily, creepers spawn a lot more than Endermen, and they drop a gunpowder. I'd say 2 in 3 drop at least 1 gunpowder for everyone you kill, and you get about 15 per night. So I'd say you get a piece or 2 of TNT per night. Not too bad, to the point where I actually got 21 TNT. And here's the funny thing: even using those 21 TNT, I still didn't find the stronghold. I had to go out and get more. That being said, though, I did massively overkill it, because picking 17 more TNT from a lot of grinding actually got me to the stronghold. And once I was in the stronghold, actually getting to the portal was quite simple. Incredibly, I am here with our ever-pressing left click, all I need to do is kill the Ender Dragon, and I've officially beat Minecraft without left clicking. It's at this point that I realized that 1.12, the Ender Dragon fight, is ridiculously hard. Maybe I'm just bad at Minecraft, maybe it's just poor planning, but being in my current state, I just could not beat the Ender Dragon. Luckily for me, what I decided to do was to save a separate file before going into the end. That way I could just respawn myself over and over again, and though that did actually cause a glitch or two here or there, it didn't cause too many problems, but it does have its own problems with this challenge. Because the end is full of Endermen, the moment you trigger an Enderman, so it's on you and attacks you, your run is basically over. Basically, because there's no way to kill Enderman without using a water bucket and slowly grinding its health down, the Ender Dragon will just hit you, send you flying and kill you. Basically, if I attracted an Enderman, I basically just reset my save. There was no point in me continuing. I'm not gonna lie when I said this probably took over an hour and a half. The other big problem was actually the Ender Eye pillars. I don't actually know the name of them officially, but the pillars in the end. You see, most of them you can just shoot straight away and blow it up. That's not the issue whatsoever. The issue comes from the ones that are caged off with those iron bars. I don't know when that was introduced, but I do think it's a good addition to the actual fight. What you're supposed to do is climb up there, break some iron bars, destroy the eye crystal, I believe it's called, and that would be it. However, I can't do that. Luckily for me, because of the extra grinding I did with the TNT, I already had enough TNT to blow each one of them up. I just placed them on, set off a lever, and then jump. It wasn't actually that hard, it was just a bit annoying when you did all of that, then fight the Enderman and the Enderman kills you, or you tracked an Enderman and having to restart. There's a lot of annoying things that happen in this challenge. But after a lot longer than I'm willing to admit, I finally took down the Ender Dragon. And that means that I have officially beat Minecraft without pressing left click. Well, I will as soon as I enter the portal and, you know, screw that Enderman for killing me. But, you know, a simple trip back wouldn't be that much of an issue if you know, ignore this death. But once I made it in, I picked it all up, I jumped in the Ender portal, and I can officially say that I beat Minecraft without ever pressing left click. What a waste of time. What I find interesting is, in the statistics screen, basically if you damage a mob, it will show up in this damage dealt section here, and also it will show you here in the blocks mined area. As you can see, I mined no blocks and damaged no mobs. I also found quite an interesting fact that I technically never killed an Enderman in this entire run. I think that's so cool to think about. So yeah, what are my final thoughts going into this? I liked the challenge. I think it was an interesting challenge to take away one of the biggest parts of Minecraft, and I'm kind of interested to prove that I could possibly do it, and I just love the idea of doing this. So if anyone's got any additional challenges, maybe in Minecraft, maybe in another game, let me know, because I'd be really interested in making this series sort of a long-term thing. For now, that's this challenge completed. Thank you ever so much for watching. My name is Sugar Puffs, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.